Hello students, welcome back to the next lecture on classical mechanics, and today we are going to see the rotating coordinate system. In fact, this topic is quite important as we are going to study the rigid body dynamics. In fact, if you're interested to study any dynamics which involves the rotation, essentially self rotation, I'm talking about something like spin. Okay, if you are going to spin the cricket ball and throw, you know that that kind of rotation is what I mean to say, the self rotation or the rotation about its own axis. Okay, and that kind of a scenario requires a coordinate system, what is known as rotating coordinate system. That means you are going to fix the three axes, x comma y comma z axis, to the center of the cricket ball, and then you spin and throw it. When that happens, what happens is the coordinates, you will also spin. That means it will rotate along with the ball. Okay, such a coordinate system is known as rotating coordinate system. Of course, you will be having another coordinate system with you, which means in the laboratory, and we say that the laboratory frame of reference or the laboratory coordinate system is the one that is not going to move, that is not going to rotate. It's going to be stationary in a point, at a point. So that distinction is what is going to be important, and we are going to distinguish between the rotating coordinate system and the laboratory coordinate system. Sometimes it is also known as stationary frame of reference. Okay, any coordinate system that is not going to move, at the same time the one which is not going to rotate, such coordinate system is known as stationary coordinate system or stationary frame of reference. So frame of reference and coordinate system, they are the same. They have been used interchangeably. Okay, and don't confuse with the relativity right now, because in relativity we will be dealing with the pure translation. Okay, we will, most of the time we will be discussing that a frame of reference is going to move at a particular speed. That means it's going to move in a straight line. Okay, the coordinate is not going to rotate there for the time being within our special relativity right now. So this topic need not be confused within the relativity, because in relativity we will discuss about the translation of a particular coordinate system at a uniform speed for special relativity. So that is different. So now what we are discussing is nothing to do with relativity, which means that it is non-relativistic mechanics. So that is how the classification is for the time being. The important point is to introduce how to correlate between, because whenever you are having more than one coordinate system, we always want to know what is the relation between the equations in one coordinate system to the other. It is very similar to the question, what is the relation between cylindrical coordinates and Cartesian coordinate? You have some relation, right? And similarly, we are asking the question, if you are going to use rotating coordinate system, what will be velocity? And in case if you are going to use stationary coordinate system, what would be the velocity of the same object? So the introduction is to that extent it is clear, and now we are planning to do this problem with reference to a rigid body. And by that, what I mean to say is that rigid body consists of several elemental particles. That means it is made up of small tiny particles, and the distance between any two of them is held fixed. Okay, the distance between any two elemental pieces that makes up the rigid body, they want to move further when the body itself is moving. Okay, when the cricket ball is thrown, the cricket ball should not explode. If that happens, then we will not consider the cricket ball as the rigid body. That is what I mean to say. So the entire mass has to go together, which means that anything that is there interior, to the extent of atoms, for example, okay, the atoms and the molecules that make up the cricket balls, they will be in their position intact. That is what we mean to say rigid. Okay, what is rigid in rigid body means the distance of separation between any two elemental particles within the large body doesn't change. So that is how the definition is, and based on that definition only the rest of the calculation proceeds. So in that way I have written, actually here you can see what is the today's aim. Our aim is like this: a particular mass is going to rotate in the three-dimensional space. Okay, for the time being, consider that it is going to rotate in a circular path in a plane. Okay, circular path is for temporarily. As time changes, it may not maintain that also. Now, to start with, if a particular object is going to rotate along a circle, then and if you are going to have the origin, okay, once you have the origin, then if you are going to draw the line from the origin to the mass means the particle, that is represented by the r of t, because I have written r of t here. So if that is the vector that is going to represent the position vector of the mass, then what is its time derivative? So question looks fairly simple, but however the difficulty arises because of the motion in the curvature, I mean in the curved path. It need not be circular path, it need not be elliptical path, it can be parabolic, or it could be any path that is not a straight line. That is what I mean to say. As long as the path is little bit curved, okay, then the calculations are not that straightforward. So you'll have to bring something with the angular velocity, because when something is rotating, naturally you talk about angular velocity omega. And in the last class we have seen that the omega is what is represented by d theta by dt, how much angle is changing within a given time. Okay, and at that time only we've got a doubt whether it is a vector quantity or not. Fortunately, what happens is, fortunately for the infinitesimal rotations, the d theta by dt is a vector quantity, which means angular velocity is a vector quantity. So we are fortunate enough to proceed with our knowledge in vectors. Okay, in case if that were not the situation, then the story would have been different, in the sense that we will have to learn a different mathematics to deal with the non-vector properties. So that is the point to be noted in connection with the yesterday's class, and that gives you a clear indication, or that gives you a smooth transition from the last class work to the today's work. So let me therefore draw the diagram here in this particular this diagram. If I complete, you will be able to see the r of t here. Okay, so let me start now. So I want to draw the axis of rotation first of all, and once you fix the axis of rotation, I can fix the some kind of a coordinate. So I will draw a vertical line downwards like that. So the vertical line is supposed to represent the axis of rotation of the particle. So that is what I am trying to draw. And then you fix some point there. Okay, so after finishing, I'll now explain what is this one. As you can see the diagram, you'll be able to see the location of the particle. So that is what I am writing. The particle is going to move from the starting point 1 and 2 are there in the diagram, right? So I am writing that the particle is going to move starting from the point number 1 to the point number 2. So now what I have done is I have essentially shown the r of t vector and r of t plus delta t vector. So the clarity will be there if I am going to draw that. And the meaning is clear that the position vector, r of t changes with time. That's what it means ultimately. So the two yellow color lines in the diagram actually denotes that. And the first line is in front and the second line is a little bit behind the scene. But however, that is how it is visible when you are trying to plot it on a plane. So the point number 1 that I am trying to tell you is that the particle is moving in a plane. That's what I am trying to say, which means that the magnitude of the vector is constant. The second point I would like to tell you is that what happens if the angle together with the magnitude changes. That means the length of the vector I am talking about. If the modulus of A also changes, okay, then what will happen? So then the so-called blue color plane, that's what I'm writing. Then the plane, I'll write down plane. Then the plane, which is in the blue color, will not be a horizontal surface. Okay, so if it is not a horizontal, means something like a wavy structure. Okay, if it is not horizontal, if it is keep on changing, then the surface cannot be horizontal. So therefore I will write down that it is a wavy structure, okay, or wavy surface. Surface is okay, we can write down because horizontal surface was there. Now we can say that it is a wavy surface. So these are the two important points that you'll have to remember, in the sense that we are discussing the dynamics in 3D. That is why we have to express like that. If the dynamics is only in 2D, then no need to worry, it's in the horizontal plane. That's all about it. Okay. So these points are clear, whatever I explained. So once this is clear, then let us see how to do the calculation. Point number 1 and 2 I already told you, so let me write down that whatever is there in the diagram at position number 1 to 2, where the angle of what you call the angle by which the particle has traversed is d phi. Now once this 3D situation is clear to you, okay, then we can think about the calculation by starting with the two-dimensional case, because considering 2D case will be a little easy, and then we can come back to the 3D case. So that is why I am going, I am little bit moving away from the place, and then I will consider the corresponding two-dimensional scenario. I will write down that, consider the 2D situation. So now what I have to do is I have to draw an appropriate diagram. So let me draw that and then show it to you. Okay, consider the 2D situation. So I will draw it, which means I have to draw a circle. Okay, a circle is enough, and then the rest of the vectors also I will finish. Yeah, so now it is ready. So now all other things are similar, that you have particles starting at 1 and 2, etc. The coordinates are as usual, you know very well. It is r1 comma theta 1 and then r2 comma theta 2. So once you have these vectors, then you can think about why we have written r1 and r2. So sometimes that doubt will come. So let me therefore explain why you need an r1 and r2 there. That is because we should not consider always the circular motion. That is the reason for that. So you understand what I mean. The general situation means you should not fix it to the circular motion. It can be parabolic, it can be hyperbolic, okay, it can be any kind of curved path. That is what I mean to say, the general situation. Okay, that is why I am using the symbol R1 and R2 rather than R, because R means only circular situation. And then now we consider in which region is affected. I will put a shadow here. I mean some kind of coloring. Blue color I will choose maybe. I will try to put some blue color in the shading, so that region is what is getting affected, or that region is what we are going to pay the attention today. Yeah, so now I have put the blue color shade here. So that is the region which you have to give the attention. So I'll write down that. Let's focus our attention to the shaded area. So if you are going to see this shaded area, that shaded area only I will draw it once again, because I don't want the entire circle around that region. I don't want the entire circle. Okay, I want only the shaded region. So that portion alone I will draw it and then show it to you. So let me quickly draw that. Yeah, so that is the portion corresponding to the shaded region. And then we can now see that the what could be the vectors like r and r, etc. So whatever is observed from the diagram, I am now writing it for clarity, but you already know these things, that you have the curved path taken by the mass. And then the second point I am trying to say is that if you want to make a geometric construction, then it is a straight line. And the third point is that the important point is this one, third one, namely the middle line won't be equal to the radius. So now you have to appreciate the difficulties in the system. What is the difficulty is the middle blue line is not equal to the radius. So how are you going to make the scenario in such a way that all the three lines have the equal radius? That's the question. So to get the answer, I am drawing the angle. Okay, the answer is there in the angle. So if you are going to say that the two angles are delta theta by 2, then our answer is that we will have to make sure that all the angles are very small. That is what is the answer. Of course, it's quite simple. You can easily imagine that if the delta theta is approaching 0, then what happens is all the lines, all the blue color line will have equal length. That's all about it. There is nothing complication, but I want to write all the steps clearly so that this is what is getting transferred to the three-dimensional case. Fine. So delta theta should be very small, and okay, any number is fine. Half a degree, 0.1 degree, anything is fine. So I'll write down less than 1 degree. So that is a valid approximation. Then now what you can do is you consider the triangle, because you are going to do some simple geometry, and therefore you consider the triangle. And then from the triangle you can write down what is sin theta cos theta. That's what I am actually writing down. Now we can use the standard trigonometry and then to get the following expression, that the distance traveled by the particle is ds. So ds is equal to you will be having 2 times. I know why 2 times will come, because exactly we are dividing it to 2 parts, so that's why it is 2 times. Let me write down that. So 2 times, that should look like r sin theta. Okay, so that's what I'm writing, 2 times. It should be some r sin theta, because sin theta cos theta, if you see from the triangle, you'll have to see the opposite side. So I'll write r sin, then it should be something like delta theta by 2. So it is actually that's all. So 2 comes because it is equal distance is there on the top and the bottom. That's all. That is the reason why I've written 2 there. And this is a vector quantity. Let us make sure. I am now doing this exercise in order to demonstrate the vector only. So you have to pay the attention to the vectors. Okay, if you are going to study only scalar, then there is nothing to do here. So let me put where is the ds vector here. So we will have to catch this vector quantity till the end. So you have to be careful about that. And how am I writing the a theta? That should be clear from your standard 2-dimensional plane polar coordinates. So you please find out where is the AR and where is a theta. So let me show it in the diagram quickly. And you can now able to see AR and a theta. AR is always perpendicular to a theta. That is very important. So AR is always perpendicular to a theta. So that is how the a theta is coming into picture in the expression at the end. Let me go to that expression. Yeah, it is there, right? So that a theta is what I am trying to explain. So it is coming from for that reason. Okay, it is supposed to be perpendicular to the radius vector r. Once this is clear, now you can actually simplify using the sin theta approximation. Okay, so there is nothing to do here. Now only thing is that we will have to use the sin theta approximation. So I'll write down that. So let us therefore use sin theta approximately equal to theta minus theta cube by 3 factorial plus theta to the power 5 by 5 factorial and so on. So now we will use this, but the point to be noted is that delta theta is very, very, very small. If delta theta is very, very small, then what will happen to the higher powers? Okay, then higher powers like delta theta to the power 3 and so on, everything will go to 0. Okay, and therefore we will retain only the first term, which means that sin theta is approximately theta. And let us give some number 1 and 2 here. Then we will now substitute this idea to equation number 2. Then what happens is equation 1 becomes like this. Equation 1 becomes that ds vector is equal to 2r into sine of I think sine itself is not there, right? Sin theta is theta, isn't it? So there is no sine now. Sin theta is theta. So I'll write down only delta theta by 2. And that's all. And that's an approximately equal to. Now we have to be careful that now we have to use the approximately equal to condition. But the more important point is that vector quantity. So you please copy the vector that was there. Okay. So delta theta approaching 0 is condition. So that point is made clear. And once it is clear, now we can write down that the ds vector is given by r times. After cancelling this, I'll be getting d theta. But you have to be careful about the unit vector. So the unit vector was there in the previous step. It was there, no, a theta. That a theta you copy it now, and that's all. Left side is a vector quantity, right side is also a vector quantity. So we are happy, and we say that this is the required relation. But that is not the place where we are going to stop. Now this is where you have to think now. So here what happens is that as far as only ds is required, then this is fine. Okay. Because both sides are vector quantity, this is fine, but we are interested to calculate dr by dt. So now the question comes, dr by dt means in our case it is ds by dt, because s is the distance between we have taken. Okay, so instead of taking r, I have taken s. So now we have to calculate ds by dt, which means that you simply have to divide this equation by dt. So let me write down that. You know what we are doing, right? If you divide this, then only we will be getting ds by dt. So I will be getting like this. It is ds by dt is equal to, on the right hand side also you do. Shall I put r by dt? No idea. No, it's not a good idea. R by dt has no meaning. So I'll put d theta by dt. So that is what you have to think. Where to put a dt, you think. For r, I don't want to put dt. Okay, for d theta, I'll put it for dt. That is good. And then the other thing, a theta, you simply copy it. Okay, now only comes interesting point, or something that you have to see. What is that is, now comes the interesting point. So what the question is, what is the direction of d theta by dt? What is the direction of d theta by dt? Because in our expression d theta by dt was there, that's why suddenly this question has come. This question was not there when we were writing the previous line. So the answer is that the direction for the d theta by dt will be given by the right hand screw rule. The right hand screw rule, yesterday we saw in the last class. How to fix the direction when it is moving. I mean, when it is spinning, the right hand screw rule has to be used. So therefore the trouble is now clear. What is the trouble is, you are getting additional vector quantity, which is d theta by dt. So you have to see carefully where is the vector coming there. So let me therefore show there. Yeah, first term ds by dt is a vector. What about the third term d theta by dt? That's a vector quantity. So how are you going to bring? Okay, how are you going to bring this particular az unit vector? Az unit vector is what? Az unit vector is the direction in which the screw is going to point. That is what I mean to say. So what I am trying to say is ds by dt equal to, let me therefore write down. Only if you write, you can understand what I am actually speaking. Okay, this point is very important. What I am trying to explain is that how are you going to deal with this two vector quantities. So I'll write down that ds by dt is equal to okay. So otherwise I will show there itself rather than writing. See, let me put a blue color highlighting. Okay, I'll put the highlighting here. This is the theme that we are trying to explain, how to bring the unit vector corresponding to the d theta by dt into picture. So put a arrow there. I'll put a arrow and then say that that's a vector quantity. So r is a vector quantity, so recognize this. So first thing is that this r will be a vector quantity. Okay, we can use the r as a vector quantity, and then d theta by dt happens to be a vector quantity. So therefore what happens is, so therefore I'll draw it in another place, okay, for clarity, because that board was full. Now since I am writing in another board, I will write down the expressions that you have, right, so that everything will be clear. The third equation that you have, and then at the end after dividing by dt, everything will be there in one place. So the point is now to be appreciated is that d theta by dt is a vector quantity. So how are you going to deal with the situation? So that is the point I am trying to explain. So can you put two vectors together like this? I am showing an equation that gives you a confusion. See the omega there, see the a theta there. Two vector quantities are there without dot and without cross. How to deal this situation? Is it okay or it's giving some confusion? So it's very clear that it is giving some confusion, and therefore we will have to resolve the problem, or we will have to manage the situation. How to do that? The idea is like this. Okay, so let us write what is that we are trying to do. We have to manage this particular situation such that our original equation 3 is intact, so this is valid. That is why I have gone above and showing the equation number 3. Equation number 3 is a theta. So a theta should be the ultimate vector that you should get. That ultimate vector means I will write final unit vector for the entire expression. So in that manner you will have to rewrite this equation so that two vectors should not appear in this blue color. I am now enclosing in blue color one. So where you have to pay attention and think what can be done in order to eliminate this kind of a confusion. So for that, what we will do is, let us now refresh, or let us now write down what is the properties of the unit vectors in the 2D. So from the 2D polar coordinate systems, what we know is the following. What we know is that you can take the cross product, right? AR cross A theta. Sorry, A theta. So AR cross A theta is how much? That will be in AZ. So this is one equation that you can write, AZ. But now the surprise is Z direction is something which is outside the 2 dimension. So I will write down that it is extension to 3D. So here is the place where you have to pay the attention. When you are considering the 2-dimensional motion, automatically cross product will take you to the 3rd dimension. Okay, so even though you are talking about 2 dimension, the what you call the angular velocity will take you to the 3rd direction. So therefore what you do is you consider the 3-dimensional cylindrical system, then you write down similar equations for the unit vectors. That's what I am writing. So AR cross A theta, okay, AR cross A theta, that would be equal to AZ unit vector. So if you have all the unit vectors, you can see that. Then you see the cyclic combinations, okay, cyclic permutations, AZ cross. And finally we have A theta, then you have cross, then AZ, that will be given by AR. So out of the 3, these are the only 3 that you have. So out of the 3, what happens is ABC, 3 equation. Which equation gives you A theta? Because A theta only we want, right? We want A theta in the equation number 3. Just now I said that equation number 3. So our second equation contains A theta in the right hand side. So it is clear that even though we have 3 equations available, the second equation, namely the one containing A theta on the right hand side, is a suitable equation that we can consider. That is the equation. Okay. So and that is what is there in equation number 3. Okay. So therefore we will use that. So how to use that? That's what I am going to write down. So let us go down and then write down what is the thing that you want. So the above equation can be written as, so what we are going to do is the equation that was in confusion, no, that equation I am talking about. So the equation that was in confusion, that equation can be rewritten like this, ds by dt is equal to the omega vector. Okay, omega you know already, d theta by dt, omega vector. But instead of saying that it is a omega being a vector, we will put the unit vector, namely AZ. Omega is a vector, that's correct, but we will attach the vector to the unit vector. Then cross R vector becomes R times A cross, sorry, AR. Okay, and where you can easily see that if you are going to take the cross multiplication, I'm showing in blue color, so that the so-called cross multiplication of the two unit vectors will give you A theta. Okay, to explain this only, I have written those equations on the right hand side. Okay, so the cross product of the unit vectors gave you a theta, and therefore we can now manage to put the cross product in the correct place. Okay, we were asking the question whether to put dot product or cross product. We can put a cross product, but however you have to put the correct attachments. Omega goes to the AZ, etc. That is what I mean to say. So a theta we will be getting finally according to 3. So that has been managed now. Now we are getting a theta, and therefore what happens is that now we can write down that conclusion can be written down like this. Okay, the conclusion is this: ds by dt is the velocity. Okay, what is ds by dt? ds by dt is velocity, and therefore we can write down vector v. Okay, so let us say that it is vector v. V equal to velocity is equal to this omega vector. Then you have a cross, that will be an r vector. So because r times ar is r, right? So let me write down on the side. Omega times r times ar is r, and omega times az is omega vector. Therefore, we can now use single vector form and then write it here and then put a box. So now we got an important conclusion that the velocity vector, the linear velocity vector, will be given by the omega cross r. This formula is quite familiar to you, but however, it is not that simple to realize how it has come. Okay, even though we are talking about the two-dimensional rotation, this point I'll write down clearly. Even though we are talking about the two-dimensional rotation, you carefully observe that omega points in the z direction. That is why I am doing all the time explaining this one. Omega points in the z direction. But z direction is 3D, right? So even in the 2D situation, third dimension is required to specify omega. That is why I have taken a lot of time and then explaining this. Now we have to take this equation, and therefore let me give some number here. Okay, 4. I'll give you 4 for this, and therefore we will take this equation to the 3D case. Now remember this and go to the 3D case. Let me go to a different board now. Yeah, this is the place where we started. So now we are ready here. So now what we will do is that this particular diagram that you have for the 3D case, let us draw a similar diagram for the 2D. How will you draw? Means it's very simple. It's only a component, right? Projection. You take the projection of the r vector on the plane, and that is 2D case. That's what I mean to say. So which means that you take the projection of, that is called the length. So let me write the projection in some pink colors. Here it is. What is that distance? The distance which is the projection of the r vector. So I will show here in the pink color what is the projection of the r vector on the blue color plane. That is the question. Answer is very simple. You have to consider a triangle and tell me whether it is r cos theta or r sin theta. That's all. It is very simple. And for that we need a theta. So let me put a theta there. So theta is the angle from the vertical to the r vector. That's all. So at this point, I would like to tell that, as I already told in the very beginning, the second yellow color line is behind the first yellow color line. So the angle is actually theta. It is not a different value. That point should be, because it is executing a cone, right? So wherever it is, theta will be maintained. Okay, that is the point. So therefore, what happens is r sin theta would be the length finally. So if you project it on the blue color plane, I will be getting r sin theta. So once you project it, then we don't require all 3 dimension. Okay, you can stick to the 2 dimensional case. That's all about it. So r sin theta only we need now. Okay, let us substitute this. Okay, we have to substitute this r times sin theta. So r times sin theta we are going to substitute. So let me write down that r times we are going to substitute. So where are you going to substitute? This is in our 2D equation, or the 2D equation that you got as equation number 4, right? There we are going to substitute. So ds by dt would be equal to omega cross. There was r, that r I am going to substitute as r sin theta. That's what I am trying to do. Okay, there was r. You remember that r will be replaced by an r sine theta now. And the direction for this is ar cap. Because ar cap will be the direction corresponding to the radius. Now what is interesting, you see, that your cross product will naturally take care of the sine theta. So you don't have to do anything now extra. You see how it is happening interestingly is that the cross product itself will take care of the sine theta, because A cross B formula, A cross B is equal to AB sine theta, right? So that is taken care. And then naturally the complete vector nature is taken care in the case of 3 dimension. So this is the conclusion. The conclusion is that in the case of 3 dimension, the formula is intact. That means omega cross r is very intact. So let us highlight that, or you put a box, whatever it is. So that is our final conclusion. In the 2-dimensional situation also omega cross r. In the 3-dimensional situation also omega cross r. The only thing is in 3-dimensional situation, what happens is that the projection of the radius vector has been taken care automatically. That is what it is. That's the meaning of that. So the distinction between them is what I am writing. Okay. In the earlier case, it was a 2-dimensional plane. But now what happened? R sin theta was a projection. So projection has been taken care by the cross product. So that is the important result now, conclusion. So our main conclusion in this time is that the velocity is given by dr by dt. Instead of writing, I'll write dr by dt. Okay, dr by dt is given by omega cross r. Because we prefer dr by dt instead of v. That's why I am writing separately once again. Okay, so to that extent we are happy. Now that we got dr by dt. So let us, therefore, now we are coming to a main question. Now let us go back to the question now. So what is the question is that you go back and see. Okay, what is dr by dt? Okay, a vector r of t rotates about a fixed point with an angular velocity. What is dr by dt? So because we were doing so many things, you should be clear actually what we are doing. So now it is very clear that the question is answered straightforward way. Okay, that is the conclusion. But now we will have to now ask the question that the dr by dt is observed by whom? So let me write something about the observer. Observer means the person who is observing the what is happening. So will be observed by an observer who is going to be stationary, right? So I'll write down something like sitting at the origin of the coordinate system. At the origin of the coordinate system. And what about coordinate system? Coordinate system is not moving and not rotating. So that point also I will write down. Okay, and I'll write down that also. And the coordinate system itself is stationary. Because that confusion should not come. That coordinate system is stationary and it is not rotating also. And it is not rotating. So that's all. This is main point. The coordinate system is not rotating is very important. So for clarity, I will show once again in the diagram. Let us go back to the diagram. Okay. So I'll go back to the diagram and then show where is the coordinate. So okay, you note this as an important point. Let us go back to the original diagram. And then where is the coordinate here? And where is the observer sitting here? Where is the origin? So that clarity, you must be able to tell where it is. So I will now show it in some kind of green color. I'll put some green color origin and then axis. That could be one of the axis. Try to draw some x-axis. And then the z-axis vertically up. So now you know where is the coordinate system. That is clear. So capital X, capital Y, capital Z is the coordinate system, which we are going to say that it is stationary and which is also not rotating. Okay, stationary means it is not translating. Not rotating means okay, it doesn't rotate, but and the origin is, that is a place where origin is there. So whatever is written there, okay, at the end of the conclusion, so that we are also showing in the diagram, so that things are clear. This point is very important because we were talking about rotating coordinate system. No? That is why I am explaining this. Not rotating. I want to say that it is not rotating. That is a point. The question then comes, what happens if it is rotating? So only if this is clear, only next question will be clear. So let us write down what is the next question. The next question is this. What happens if the coordinate system is rotating? Okay, what happens if the coordinate system is rotating with with some angular velocity that you can always write down? Is rotating means with some angular velocity capital omega about the origin. Capital omega about the origin. So you please note down that it is capital omega. I want to distinguish it from the standard omega symbol because they are not necessarily same. So the answer can be now written down quickly. So I will write down the answer. It is not difficult. Now we can write down the answer. So dr by dt in the stationary frame of reference, I will put a capital S. Okay, that is a stationary frame. That will be equal to the dr by dt. It is the same dr by dt, but observed by the rotating frame of reference r plus the omega cross r. So this omega cross r only we have been doing for the last 40 minutes. So that is why I took a lot of time to explain how the omega cross r term comes. Okay, rest of the thing is you understand. R means rotating coordinate system. S means stationary system. That's all. Stationary system means stationary coordinates, which is not going to translate, which is not going to rotate. Okay, that kind of meaning it is. R means it is rotating coordinate system, but remember, not translation. So translation is not there. Please, so that point should be clear to you. At any cost, the coordinate system is not translating. Okay, it's only rotating. That is R. Only the stationary is yes. So the omega cross r term is what is the important thing that I was explaining for the last maybe 40 minutes, and that should be clear how it has come there. So it is a tradition to use capital XYZ for the stationary system. What is that I am writing is some kind of tradition. If you are going to use some other book, sometimes capital XYZ, small XYZ will come. So that point I am writing down. Capital XYZ means stationary coordinate system. Small XYZ means rotating coordinate system. So keep this equation number 5 with you. This is very important whenever we deal with rotating coordinate system. So this is our main result in today's class. If you can read many books, I do not know to what extent the explanation is available. There is quite a lot of confusion. It is not clear why the omega cross r term comes into picture. Okay, it's not clear. But almost in every book, you can always see that omega cross r is straight away written down. And that is why I have taken some time to explain this concept. The concept is very important. Okay, and without knowing any reason, or you just to memorize this equation means it's also difficult. Okay, without giving any explanation, you memorize dr by dt stationary equal to dr by dt rotating plus omega cross r. There is no, I'm unable to memorize this without any meaning. So okay, so that I think that is the place where you can stop for the today's work, and in the next class we will see. Suppose if the rigid body starts rotating, okay, about a point. Okay, it is rotating in 3 dimension, of course. If it is rotating like that, then how to calculate the angular momentum of the rigid body? So that point we will see in the next class. And angular momentum is important because it naturally comes. You can't talk about the linear momentum of a rotating object, isn't it? So there is no point in talking about the linear velocity. So angular velocity comes into picture naturally whenever an object is rotating. So we will calculate the angular momentum of rigid body in the next class. Then at that time what will happen is angular momentum is connected to the moment of inertia. They are related. So we will also be dealing with the moment of inertia of a rigid body in the tomorrow's class. Okay, so with this we'll stop.